From the Middle is a founding member of Odd Pods Media. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into episode 177 From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys living in the middle of America in the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view that's somewhere in the middle. And in this episode, it's all about Halloween. We talk a little bit about movies and TV shows that you associate with certain parts of the year, and a little bit of flight etiquette when it comes to taking off your shoes. Lots of interesting things to discuss in this one, even though it's a little bit shorter. You're still going to have a great time. Hit play. Let's go.
Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
From the Middle after dark over here.
Hello, boos and ghouls. Welcome to a very spooky Halloween episode of From the Middle. It's your hosts, Dylan, Kendall, and Kory, and we are here with you to share good tidings on that which is a very spooky and haunted night. I don't have anything else planned for the rest of this opening monologue, but I thought I would just start in what might be a very spooky voice.
Halloween's over. It's over.
Okay, it's already over. Hey guys.
Kendall already has his whole house decorated with Christmas gear. Halloween is far from over.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some Nightmare Before Christmas stuff up still.
That's a good transition piece, right?
That's good. Good hybrid.
Good we were just
I watched
talking
that
about
movie. Go ahead. I watched that movie for the first time with the kids, and it was one of those situations where they watched the whole thing. All three of them did, in two shots, only because we ran out of time. And I was pleasantly surprised that nobody was like way freaked out. Like everybody went to bed just fine. And it was a good experience. So what I thought might have been a bad dad move, but I love the movie and so did it anyway. And ended up being all right. And I'm good with that. And I've got one boy who is, I feel like this Halloween has been like a coming out moment for him, that he's the one who has always been way scared of everything. And now all of a sudden, this Halloween, he is all about looking at the spooky decorations. He's like asking to go to Target so that we can look at Halloween stuff. And he doesn't want to go look at costumes and candy. He wants to go see the big scary displays that jump out at him. And even like going trick-or-treating with him this year. Like you have some houses that like really deck up the sidewalk that leads up to their front door. And you could see the look on his face is one where he is scared. He is legitimately scared, and he takes a moment to stop because he's scared. But you can tell he also kind of likes that.
Ooh,
and
nice.
So I'm like, dude, he's me. He's me.
I'm scared, but I like
horror films with this guy.
Yeah, I'm scared, but I like the effect that this is having on me, I think, because it's exciting, but also scary, but I want to know more.
Yeah. And caught so it's been
caught him streaming
Halloween,
The Exorcist. Right? Yeah, I get it.
We haven't gotten that far down the hill.
You never know the movies. You never know how your kids will react to things. A very silly movie as we enjoy this Brendan Fraser Renaissance. My daughter loved George of the Jungle the other day. And I didn't know if the 90s George of the Jungle slapsticky silliness would be like whether she'd totally dig it or it would just seem weird. And she totally loved it. She thought it was, she's saying it's her favorite movie right now, which she's seen it one time. We were also talking earlier about holiday adjacent movies. It's funny that you brought up Nightmare Before Christmas because it is both uh, Halloween and Christmas adjacent. So
Right.
it's both. Do you have any movies that aren't explicitly a holiday movie that you really like at particular holidays? Like Harry Potter is not explicitly a Halloween nor Christmas movie, but it feels like it blends so well into those two seasons between the spookiness and then some of the wintry scenes and the snow stuff. And it just feels like it's such a perfect kind of Halloween through Christmas set of films.
I don't, unfortunately. What about you, Kory?
Well, Dylan has some other good examples. You and my friend Brad were talking tonight. So Dylan and I were together earlier this evening for trick or treat. We were having this conversation around the campfire at the bottom of our driveway. Dylan, what were some of the other ones that you guys brought up? There's some good ones.
Yeah, well, so those were a couple. I also said Grumpy Old Men with Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon feels like kind of a Christmas movie. It takes place in winter. It's not explicitly, a Christmas movie. It's just this kind of subtle thing. You feel like it makes sense. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a Thanksgiving movie, but you'll notice now that it's often packaged with like Christmas jingle bells and candy canes on the packaging, like they're trying to use Christmas to help it sell more. So it's kind of become almost this Christmas movie, even though it's not. So I think sometimes when something takes place across certain seasons of the year, it just gets tied up with it. Leap Year is about a woman proposing to a man in Ireland. It's this old tradition. It's not a seasonal film per se, but you just feel like it makes so much sense for like March and St. Patty's Day. Coco from Disney feels like now it's this any Mexican holiday is a great excuse to bring out the movie Coco and just watch. It's like Day of the Dead, but also why not Cinco de Mayo? Because the Mexicans have a very rich culture and this movie was super cute and fun. So like, why not bring it out at any relevant Mexican holiday? So I don't know. There you go. There's a couple more examples.
Did that trigger anything for you, Kendall?
Not in the movie world, but there is. I haven't read it now in years, but once upon a time, there's a book that I used to read every winter, and so which would usually like I want it to be snowy. This is going to sound really artsy and weird. I want it to be snowy outside, legitimately so, and I want to be reading the book next to a window with snow.
Yeah.
And so it's not like Christmas specific, but it is winter specific.
Right.
And that is Dog Song. Which is a short little book that's it's about an Eskimo kid who goes out with sled dogs and learns the ropes, so to speak, and ends up going off and finding himself away from his modern town. Is the way it but it's just I don't know, like I read that book when I was in high school.
Gary Paulson?
Yeah. And I've probably read that book most years in my adult life. I've read that book for sure in the winter.
Another one my wife likes this time of year as we get to the winter is New in Town with Renee Zellweger and Harry Connick Jr. Renee Zellweger is an executive who moves from Florida up to like Minnesota to help this yogurt facility do whatever. And it's not a Christmas movie, but it kind of feels like a Christmas movie.
Okay.
So that's another good one if you like New in Town. And I would say we were talking about this at a similar time last year. Christmas is certainly a theme of this not new anymore, the series Hawkeye. It's not the main theme, but it's certainly in the background. So I wonder how many people will associate Hawkeye now and rewatching Hawkeye around Christmas, much like Die Hard. Die Hard is not about Christmas, but it's certainly a Christmas movie.
Sure.
So
yeah, I remember that being our general consensus. I also we did not do this on purpose, but I love the fact that on the day of us recording this, it is Halloween, and we're already our minds went, let's talk about Christmas.
We're over it.
Well, I was trying to use examples of things that are different seasons. And so I did throw in the St. Patty's Day reference and Cinco de Mayo. I think earlier we also said maybe Sleepless in Seattle starts around Christmas and goes through Valentine's Day. So that one would share a couple different seasons if you liked watching that one. So if anyone's listening, if you have movies that aren't overtly about a holiday, but just really perfectly fits in, maybe it's a book, maybe it's a movie, maybe it's a TV show, let us hear about it. I'd love to. This feels like a thing we could keep talking about as people give us feedback through like the whole holiday season. If we get more, like The Grinch is clearly about Christmas, but Grumpy Old Man isn't, and is a fun one to watch during the holidays. So
I feel like another good example would, sorry, Dylan, didn't mean to cut you off there, would be like horror movies that people watch at Halloween that certainly don't take place at Halloween, but Halloween begs that you just watch a horror movie that has nothing to do with October in any way, shape, or form. You just want to be scared.
I like Ghostbusters for Halloween. It's not a Halloween movie, but it just fits so nicely during Halloween that it just feels like it belongs.
There's an actress in the movie New in Town, and she's great in everything I've seen her in, and I'm going to butcher her name, but it's Siobhan. Is that Siobhan Fallon Hogan? She's in New in Town. She's great. She has a line where she goes, "Oh, around here we don't joke about Jesus." She does the Minnesota accent so well. She's great in that, and that's a fun movie. The Holiday, but that's kind of like that's Christmas.
It is, but it's not about Christmas. It's about Christmas. It's about them using the Christmas holiday break to go travel and get away from their problems. That would be another good example. Kind of is and kind of isn't. There's a lot. There's tons of examples. I'm sure we're missing hundreds of good examples of movies that, would work at certain times of the year. And certainly TV shows as well.
I want to watch Boondock Saints on St. Patty's Day.
Another good example. Have you ever gone back to one of your favorite like sitcoms and like, I'll just use The Office because that's a familiar one for me. Around Christmas, go back and try to find all the Christmas episodes and like watch them around Christmas. So you're just watching. Have you ever done that before? Maybe you do it with like Frasier or Seinfeld. Yeah. You're trying to like catch the episodes that apply. Like, oh, I know there's 2 Halloween episodes of Seinfeld. I'm going to go try to watch the Halloween ones around Halloween. I don't know that that's true. I made that up, but I didn't know if you guys did that either.
I don't do that. But what I do experience is when I'm watching a show, streaming a show, and it's in the middle of June, right? And like their Christmas episodes come up in your queue and you're watching the Christmas episodes in June. And I do have a feeling of discomfort there. That's like, this is all cool, but I'm totally missing out because I don't have like the warm fuzzies right now that I would have in November and December. And this would have been so much cooler if I would have just timed this out properly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had no way of knowing without doing way too much research. So there is that.
Important question. So everyone chime in with your favorite movies and shows that you like at your favorite holidays around the year. And if you really want to just give us an obvious one, like the movie Valentine's Day for Valentine's Day, that's fine too.
Independence Day for
that one. Day. Actually, that's a good example. Is that too close? That is kind of one of the main themes that it is Independence Day.
Yeah.
I would accept that as a submission if somebody said Independence Day for Independence Day.
All right, I was trying to be funny, but cool.
Yeah.
Although boring and unoriginal, it's a perfectly acceptable answer if it's true for you.
It's true. Or The Patriot with Mel Gibson for 4th of July. if you wanted to watch something that you felt like was this like, yeah, America, but not too America, you go back and watch Mel Gibson. That's good. That's awesome.
Well,
How has this theme never come up?
Well, I don't know. I feel like it has. I feel like we've talked about it before. But before we jump off of Halloween too quickly, I just have to share. As I mentioned, Dylan and his family were over tonight in our neighborhood, and I walked across the street to chat with some other neighbors. And trick or treat in our neighborhood, and Kendall and I, before we started recording, were sharing that our neighborhoods feel very similar in that it's a huge deal in our neighborhoods. Like people come out and bring little campfire rings to the bottom of their driveways and hang out in chairs, and groups of families will be at one house, and it's just music playing, and people have their decorations. We used to project The Nightmare Before Christmas on our all white garage door. Big deal. So I'm walking across the street to talk to a neighbor, and we're talking about, isn't this just so fun? Like our neighborhood just really shows up in this way. This is so great. And she said that her father had come over a year or two prior and said, sweetie, this is like a movie. Like it's well lit and it's safe and the kids are just laughing and it's safe to cross the street. And it's just like, this is like a movie here. It's so fun. And as I continued talking with her, we were talking about how fun our neighborhood is. She goes, oh, by the way, I love your podcast. And I said, wait, what? And she goes like, oh, I've been listening. She's like, I listen to podcasts at work all the time. And you had mentioned something about, I don't know, some show called like Alone. Well, then I watched a whole season of Alone because of you. And then I was like, whoa, you said you had the guy from the show on your show. And then I listened for like a handful of months, more episodes, and I'm still listening. She's like, it's really good. And then I'm like, oh crap, did I tell any stories about Did I tell any stories about the neighbor?
I tell you, that's a sickening feeling. There's people who I know listening to this podcast who, like, I sometimes regret the things that I say. And sorry, Dr. Dave.
Sorry, Dr. Dave. But I was like, no, wait, you're one of the good neighbors. I've never said anything bad about you. So that was good. But no, it was really, I was like really endeared, and I was like really like, I felt like a sense of pride that we're creating something that, because you could tell that she wasn't just being nice, that she actually sees some value, albeit small, in what we're doing. But then also, like you just said, like, oh crap, have I said, I've talked about, I've like shown my boxer briefs on here, and we've talked a lot about poop and like all kind of other things. So I'm like, what other things? Yeah. Good times.
How many fart jokes have I told this?
We gotta quit sharing our prescriptions on these episodes too.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of trick or treat, we adults had some treats, some adult beverages, and it's very late here as we're recording, and I've got a 7 a.m. flight. So I feel like this one's going to be a short one. So just calling that out here at the top. But we did want to still log in and say hello and wish you all a Merry Christmas. And yeah,
we want to be the first.
Some fun news and some quick news. Be on the lookout, not only in our social media profiles. I won't name names yet, but be on the lookout in our social profiles and follow Odd Pods Media. We're adding some new shows, some new fun shows to the network. So you'll hear some of those ads in ours. Don't skip through them. Have a listen, because it might be a new show that you want to check out. Follow not only us, but the Odd Pods Media pages. We're like all over the freaking place. We're on Twitter and Instagram. I think Odd Pods from the Middle is even on LinkedIn. All right. So you can really follow us anywhere. And you can also go to oddpodsmedia.com. And there's a blog with tons of interesting stuff over there. You can see the different shows. So keep an eye out, because we're going to have some new friends in the Odd Pods Network, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I'm not saying it is the ladies from The Office.
And before we announce Before we announce what those new shows are, we're going to let you hear from some of our friends in the existing Odd Pods Media Network right now.
Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm Richie.
I'm Little Matt.
And here in the 500 Section Lounge, we are three dads who host a family-friendly weekly podcast.
Yep, we laugh, we go on tangents, and we talk to great guests.
Tangents? I don't know what you're talking about with that. You know, there are gases leaking.
All right, okay.
Yeah, we have legendary conversations from sports to history and everything in between.
So be on the lookout for what we do next.
And always be there to
grab a listen.
And we're back. So you should definitely check out that show. Of all of the shows, it might be my favorite show of all of the shows. Not
it is the show. It's the showiest of the shows. I think
it's one of the showiest of the shows. That's definitely true.
It's one
It's
of
in
the
my
showiest for sure.
it's in my top 10
Yeah, I bet they have lots of movies that they
of the Odd Pods shows. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet they have lots of movies they watch for certain seasons that they enjoy. So at that show, it's very exciting. Yeah, and who knew Mel Gibson was even going to start a podcast? You know, who knew?
What are you guys' thoughts? I'm stealing from our boys, Petey and Seb. What are you guys' thoughts on an adult? I'm going to say male, but we can give our thoughts about either. An adult male taking off his shoes during an international flight.
No.
You're in the air for at least 5 hours.
I mean,
does he have socks on?
Technically, you could have been flying from like New York or Chicago to Toronto as an international flight.
Okay.
So thank you for clarifying.
I mean, one of the big ones. You're crossing a major ocean. Is it like there's no way you should ever do that?
Are they in first class or coach?
I know the subtext of the question.
I don't. Other than I agree, rich people should be able to do things that the rest of us can't.
No.
Oh, that wasn't okay.
I don't know. I don't think so.
You don't think so? That's two no's.
On a long flight, I might be able to be okay with it. It's not going to bother me to the point that I'm going to be like sitting there staring at him and it's going to ruin my day. So I have to take it as is it something I'm comfortable doing? And the answer is absolutely not.
And why are you not doing it?
I don't know. I've just always been that way. I'm not a sandals guy. I've explained before how like I tend to be like one level of more foot coverage than a lot of guys in my generation. So if there's guys who are barefoot, that's often when I'm in sandals, which isn't very often because guys aren't just flat out barefoot very often. If guys are wearing sandals, I'm definitely wearing shoes and socks. Definitely. So if I'm out and about, I'm wearing shoes and socks 100% of the time. And if guys are switching over to shoes because their feet are getting cold or whatever, or it's fall, or I'm definitely putting on boots. Or if they're putting on shoes because they're going fishing or whatever, I'm wearing boots for that.
I thought you were going to say spats like Mr. Peanut.
I don't even know what that word is, but
it's the little white cloth that would go over the lace part of your shoes in old timey times that would button up the side.
A shoe accessory?
Yeah. It's like a collar.
I don't have any shoe accessories. Yeah. That sounds fancy. Yeah, I want to bring those back, man. I know I can visualize what you're saying now that you mentioned it. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen that before. Not in person, I don't think. But yeah.
So this is Kendall when other guys have shoes on.
when other guys have shoes on, it's not even that I'm dressing it up. It's that, like, I don't know. I like to think of my feet as tools. And if you're wearing sandals, you don't have tools at the end of your legs. Maybe that's what it is.
Those spats are just those buttons shy of looking like too long of sleeves, but for your feet. That's all it is. It's just your sleeves are too long. I don't,
ankle vests.
There's some variables. I think my answer is overall no. There's some variables. Are they in first class? Do they only have sandals on that their feet are already aired out pretty well? Are they sitting by themselves? Are they the only person on the plane? That could be another variable. So I'm leaning no in all situations, but I could be convinced if somebody is the only person on a plane and they are the one who owns the plane and or is renting out the plane solely by themselves.
So that's two hard no's. Got it. Does it change it at all if it's a female and her feet are that of a foot model?
Yeah, women can do what they want. I don't care if it is a foot model's foot.
Well, my opinion has to change because Seinfeld has taught me that men's bodies are like Jeeps and they're utilitarian or for getting around. Women's bodies are like works of art. And so that tells me that women are allowed in this cruel, cruel world and that men cannot.
So
but we get pots.
So Pete was on a flight to Germany. A guy within a couple rows ahead of him had taken off his shoes. He had socks on. And he was like stretching out his feet and doing that thing where you just like massage your feet with your other foot, just like continuously rubbing them together. And he was disgusted. And he's like, I don't care who you are. If you're a grown man, you keep those shoes on your feet for that entire flight. I don't care how uncomfortable you are. There's no reason that you need to do that. Tough it out and keep those shoes on your feet. Sebastian surprisingly thought it was okay, as long as you're not putting those feet up on the wall, up on the seat in front of you, keep them below. But definitely, if you get up to go to the restroom, you still put those shoes back on to go to the restroom. You would be surprised to learn how many people do go in their stocking feet to the plastic floored lavatories on an airplane on international flights. Anyway, I thought I would bring it up because I was just on a couple international flights and I took my shoes off. I took my shoes off. Took my shoes off. I placed my shoes under the seat in front of me. My feet were just to either side of said shoes. They never came up anywhere near the knee height. They were never crossed across my knee. They were down. I just wanted the shoes off for a bit to let the dogs breathe. They didn't stink. I just needed to not have shoes on for a little bit. And I, of course, returned said shoes to my feet to use the lav. So yeah, I was curious what you guys' thoughts were.
I feel like there could be far more offensive things you could do on a plane.
Yeah, just follow her passenger shaming on Instagram.
You just have to be very, very confident that your feet do not smell if you're going to pull that move. Just very sure. Fresh shower, fresh shot, fresh socks, new shoes, went straight to the airport. It's morning. You've only been wearing the shoes a couple hours. Very confident that you're not stinking up the cabin.
Fair.
So guys, I have in front of me, are we moving on from feet and shoes?
Sure.
Okay. I have an informative article from the usnews.com site of web about Halloween, and it's giving some statistics here. And I have what I find a very interesting and in some cases, I think kind of funny, state by state, most popular costume choices.
Interesting.
First of all, it gives a national averages too. The for example, the very most popular costume search, and this is all based on people searching for costumes on using Google. Number one was a witch, and I think that the new Hocus Pocus movie probably has a lot to do with that. Why that one has popped up. Number two is Spider-Man, and Harley Quinn is in the top 10. I enjoy that one. Stranger Things is in the top 10 nationally, but then state by state, we have our great state of Ohio, and it is an animal that is the most popular costume in Ohio. What do you guys think it is? Classified as animal. They are all over the place. I guarantee you saw some up and down your street today.
Squirrel.
Dinosaur.
Oh, T-Rex. Inflatable T-Rex.
Yeah. Inflatable T-Rex. They're everywhere in Ohio. And apparently that is an Ohio specific thing. Inflatable T-Rex costumes are big in Ohio. I assumed that was a national thing. Very much an Ohio thing. We share that with a couple of other states, but not very many. Interestingly enough, Alaska, also an animal, rabbit. Rabbit really? is the most popular costume in Alaska.
Wow.
Michigan is a witch, and a lot of states have witch. The one that I think is by far the funniest is Minnesota, and their popular costume searches are the Renaissance. They're a time period. There's only one other state that has a time period for their favorite Halloween costume theme.
Massachusetts.
Alabama, which is 1980s. So Alabama, people want to dress up like the 80s. Minnesota, people want to dress up like the Renaissance.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd love to do a deep dive on some of these.
I know.
I need to know more.
It just shows you. You can go state to state, man, and things are very different, apparently.
You're really good at coming up with these. You did that once before with Thanksgiving food. We played a little game around it. Yeah.
I read news, man. And then when I come across one of these, I'm like, that's interesting. What state do you think comes out with the most pumpkins every year? And it is not even close. They're at 39.55% of the pumpkin production in this country.
Produces the most pumpkins or decorates with the most pumpkins?
Produces, farms the most pumpkins.
Idaho.
No.
I don't even know what conditions one needs for producing pumpkins.
Illinois.
That was my second guess.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Are you just saying that?
Illinois was on the tip of my tongue. I almost said it.
Why? What was your thought process?
Yeah.
I was just trying to think of like more I was trying to think of more northern climates.
Okay.
And then we kind of know Ohio, Indiana, Nebraska, Iowa. Some of those are really corn dominant. And so I thought, maybe Illinois. I never hear about, all of Illinois outside of Chicago is like fields. Mm-hmm. And so I thought maybe that would be Illinois' like weird thing, that it would be growing something, but we wouldn't suspect pumpkins.
Yeah. 40% of our nation's pumpkins coming from Illinois.
Wow. I would not have guessed that high. I would have.
Yeah. Indiana's in second place with 11%.
Yeah, not even
Ohio is, I believe, 9th on this list. Michigan is 5th. They're almost all northern states, except Texas is 4th.
That's
and
weird.
North Carolina is down there on the list, but they made the list. Everyone else is like Oregon, Washington, New York, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin.
I wasn't far off then with thinking kind of Pacific Northwest first.
Yeah.
Idaho wasn't a terrible guess. Illinois, interesting. Yeah, that's not close. I would have guessed the most out of a state would have been like 10 to 15%. as a slight edge.
Right. Yeah. Because it does. It seems like there's always local markets around that are selling them. And I would think that like a lot of people are buying local pumpkins. Again, maybe that's an Ohio thing. Maybe we're the ones buying all the local pumpkins and wearing our T-Rex costumes.
Yeah.
But
so the mob never really died. It just got into the pumpkin business in Illinois.
That's right.
So speaking of Hocus Pocus 2, did either of you guys see that by chance?
No.
Never seen the first one.
I loved the first one. I saw the first one when I was a kid. I mean, I haven't watched it since I was a kid, but I remember loving it as a kid.
So Sherry and the kids watched it while I was away in Europe, and they said, "Dad, we really think you'd like this." And so we watched it this past weekend. It was really good, more than anything. And this is what Sherry's first reaction was. That was 27 years ago that the last one came out. Like Bette Midler and the other two, I'm blanking on the other two actresses' names. How much Sarah Jessica Parker, and the other one, how much they look like their original portrayals of the characters. Like they did a great job with their costumes and makeup. I mean, it was impressive. It was fun. It's a cute Disney show. Super conservatives will think it's the next, I don't know, D&D, and the Satanic Panic is all good. Anyway.
How come Tim Allen didn't play one of the witches, huh? Did we already talk about this on another episode? Bette Midler's comments on coming back to play the role. Did I mention
No.
Bring it up. It's just funny. It's funny you say that. So I was reading an interview about this movie coming back out after so many years. Now, obviously, any celebrity can say anything they want about any of the roles that they play. However, I, for whatever reason, don't take Bette Midler as one to just say something flippantly. And she made the comment in this interview, I think it was like Variety or somebody like that this is the most fun she's ever had playing any role in her life, was to come back and play this role again for Disney and Hocus Pocus 2, which I thought she's done a ton of movies and like Broadway. And so that's saying quite a bit to say you had the most fun in your life playing this role. Maybe it was just a nice quote, sort of the part of the press junket for the movie coming out and whatever. But again, for whatever reason, I don't take Bette Midler as somebody who would just say that just to say it. So I thought that actually in and of itself kind of made me want to watch the original, which I've never seen, and the second one, and finally give them a shot. It was never a thing we watched as kids. So now I kind of want to watch them.
63% on Rotten Tomatoes. My apologies to Kathy Najimy, the third Sanderson sister. So it's Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy. And Dylan, you'd like this because from Ted Lasso fame, Hannah Waddingham, who plays the original owner of the team, is the mother witch that the young Sanderson sisters meet at the beginning of this sequel. So in a prequel scene in the sequel, so she plays a really cool character in it. But yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun family holiday film to consume, knowing that, my children aren't going to wake up evil because they watched a Disney movie. So
look at her, happy for any Ted Lasso alumni. You've got Brett Goldstein playing Hercules in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She's jumped into Hocus Pocus too. Good for them. That's exciting.
Good times. Gentlemen, that's all I have for you this evening. It's almost midnight here and I need to pack a bag. I'm off to Jersey City. I'll be right on the Hudson looking at Manhattan for a couple days, doing some work while I'm there. I always love catching up with you. So thank you for your time and anything else you guys want to add before we bounce?
Quick test. Don't shower before you leave. Take your shoes off on the plane. See how it goes. Do shower on the way back and take your shoes off and see if there's a different reaction.
I feel like it doesn't count because it's such a short flight. I feel like somehow people give you a pass when it's international. They're like, it's a long flight. The guy's dogs are barking. Let him take his shoes off.
Well, I mean, all research is good research, man. You just gotta.
Okay.
You need to start somewhere. Do it, and you have to pull people after, like when you're getting up and people are trying to get their luggage. Be like, hey, I didn't know if you noticed, but like I had my dogs out, and I just wanted to know how you felt about that.
Smell this shoe. Did you smell this at all during the flight?
If you listen to our last episode, I'll do a vlog about it. How's that sound?
There you go.
I'll do a travel log about it. I'll let you know how it goes. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. If you care about good skin, and if you have a beard and want to keep that beard looking sharp and clean and well groomed and shiny and smelling good, I encourage you to visit artiusman.com. That's ARTIUSMAN.com. Fill your cart with a lot of their all natural, locally made products. Use promo code at checkout, the middle. That's THEMIDDLE to get 25% off of your first order. All subsequent orders will be tracked to us. And so that helps us as the person who referred you. You'll get great products. You get that 25% off on your first order. As we said, Christmas is just like right around the corner. You can get gifts for the man in your life who wants to look dapper. And likes good candles, perhaps manly smelling candles. Go check that out. And stay tuned to all of our socials. As we mentioned, we've got some exciting news coming up soon on the Odd Pods media front. And Dylan takes care of our Twitter. I handle our Instagram. Kendall does everything else. And we love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. My neighbor loves it. Tell a friend. They'll love it too. All right.
Toodles.